Well, Farouk, what have I told you about Louis Gore Sour Milk CDs on my player? Welcome to the Inner Sanctum. Today we're going to be painting this classic image of the late great Freddie Mercury, as taken by the photographer Mick Rock. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it slightly differently to previous videos, because this time I've done a blog previously how to paint this, and I'm going to show you on the blog. You can see how to do the lettering, but today I'm just going to do the figure of the face and the hands. Okay, so if you want to click on the blog, which will be if you're on YouTube watching this, just scroll down a bit and you'll see underneath there'll be a link to the blog, a link to Badger Paints, and a link to the UK distributor of Badger Paints, and you'll find a link to various other things. Some of you have emailed me about stencil making. I'm going to give you a quick sort of synopsis of how to make a stencil. Now, if you print off the picture that I've linked to in my blog below, which is basically that, I've actually given you these stencils before I cut them out, and all you've got to do really is like that. Just print it off, stick it onto a bit of cereal box and cut it out like so, and you'll end up with that, which is the right hand, the face, which is that, and that starts to give you some idea of what's going on here. Like, and you just cut out those pieces and keep that piece. See that the eyelid piece doesn't fall out on the left hand, and it's fairly straightforward. This time we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do the lettering because it'll make it a bit too long, the video, and also once you understand how that works, it's pretty self-explanatory how that works. You know, you see what I mean. So what I've done, I've started with a beige t-shirt, not white. You can use white if you want, but beige makes it easier. And we'll just work in with these three pieces like so. Okay, that's not quite right. I'll organise that in a second. The other thing I want to say is I'm using the Vega 2000, but I will also be using the Badger 155 Anthem. They're both very similar airbrushes, and the paint I'm using, again, if you look in the blog below, I'll tell you the specific colours I'm using as I go along. But I just want to point out that when you buy your Badger Spectratex, it comes in that size bottle. Now you can either take the top off and then you put that in, which Badgers provide, or you can just empty the contents into a bottle you're used to using, which is what I do as well. So it'll be a combination of different materials and supplies. Okay, so let's start painting. So you've got your beige shirt, and place your face about probably if that's a halfway point, that's the upper half of the halfway point, and make sure the stencil isn't springing up at the edges. And all you've got to do with this to begin with, make sure it's centered, and then just dust some Adobe through like so. Now at this stage we're not going too dark because this is just a guide. What I'm going to do is sort of add a bit of hair there, just to show the effect I'm trying to get. Just lightly dust it, and you've got that. That's stage one. Now I'm going to do the next stage, which is both hands, before I even start doing any modelling. Keep your reference handy so you can see what's going on. I've also got a blow up there of the hands so I can really see some of the details. Where are we? Okay. Okay, the placement of these hands can vary quite a bit. And I'm using a narrower board than the previous one I've shown you, so I might actually lose the edge of the fingers, but as it's in shadow, I think I can just about get away with it. And again, just dust around the outline. and then the other hand. I'll put it there, it's fine. That'll work. Okay, now what we'll do, we'll add some tone now to the face, and we'll really start to define what's going on. Right, okay. Now, I don't know if you noticed there, I've glued the piece that I removed from there onto the stencil to remind me that in the centre of his mouth there's a sort of triangle, and it's darker in the corners like so. So started making the corners darker, and then under the bottom lip, you define the bottom lip like so, and you'll notice I'm losing the edge of those masked shapes, because we really don't want it to look like it's been masked. The mask is there, the stencil's there just to guide us. So we'll now fill in those bits above the eyelid, and don't just laboriously copy, add some form as if you're making it a sculptural thing. And by that I mean follow the shape of the eye, and really start to feel the shapes as you go. You know, you're not slavishly copying a photograph, you're actually creating something yourself, if you know what I mean. So we'll start to fill in some form there, and the same the other side. And again, where this edge is, soften it so it looks like the shadow isn't ending at such a defined point, and it will help with the illusion of light. Now, on the stencil here, you'll see I've marked a couple of marks there. They're not for cutting out, they're purely to remind me where the cheekbone ends, there and there, those two places. So we'll put those shapes in, and once you put that kind of form in, keep it loose at first, loose and light, and you'll start to see, as then coming down to meet the jawbone. Now Freddie had very high, wide cheekbones, and it's important you keep that. If you don't get the high, wide cheekbones, you'll lose the lightness straight away. So keep it wide. I mean, that distance is quite wide, and that throws a lot of people when they draw Freddie in this position. It's almost like a hexagon. If you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in that, think of it as a hexagon shape. It'll help you define in your own mind what you're doing. And again, coming down the bottom of the jaw, just there, and the same, when we come up the other side, again, the stencil was just a guide, and we're shaping what we can see. And don't go too dark too quickly, but start to define what you can see in the photograph. Okay, now what we'll do here, we'll put the stencil back, because as I said shortly a brief while ago, in the centre there we want to draw a little pyramid. Because that shape helps to define it, and then loosely draw the shape of the nose, but stay away from the edge, because that'll give you a much more defined kind of shape. Now it's starting to shape up a bit, but again start adding some form. And what I do first of all, get rid of that hard edge just get rid of the hard edge, and then the shadow area on the right hand side of the right hand, and it goes down and fades to black. So basically, and again I've drawn on the stencil the shape of the third finger. So do that and make sure you get the thickness of the joint. And again, and there's also a ring there and a ring there. That's 2 rings on the little finger. So start to define the form. Here the hand just disappears into darkness, but it creates a kind of pointy shape. But all you've got to do there is let the edge of the palm, it's not the palm, it's the edge of the hand, but it's the fleshy part of the hand. Let that just disappear into the natural shadow area. And it's basically just go, refer to your photographs often and keep it as it is, but then try and add a bit of sculptural tone to it as well. So, you're trying to create something beyond the face. Okay, keep going around with the brown, sort of sculpting the form as you go. Now, I've just put a line in there where I think the hair is going to be. It doesn't have to be exact because it's going to fade to black. But then, if you want to add a bit of tone, lines I mean, like so, and add some tone in the shadow areas. Just although it's hair, it's still got form. And same the other side. That's just enough to sort of give you a guide. Okay. Now what we'll do, we'll introduce some purple. Okay, I've added the Spectratext Neon Purple 55-169. What we're gonna do is in the brighter areas where it's lit on the hair, even though it's black hair, they must have used a purple gel because he's got purple on his eyelids and purple on the hair, and there's a bit of purple in that shadow area. So using the purple, gently dusting a bit of purple. Don't worry about being too fussy at this stage. Like so. And then on the eyelid. Okay, now it looks like a lot of purple, but a lot of these areas are going to be black. And also here, the sleeve, and if you can see, it must be like a silky sleeve, and there's a reflection there in purple. So again, there, you want to do that kind of, get a kind of loose quality. So that when you add some black, it doesn't look flat. And then what I've done all around is create a kind of texture like that, so you get sort of fade out to purple rather than just black, because if it was just black it'd just be like a printed shirt and there's no point. You've got to kind of give it a bit of, you know, your own personality, and you can do whatever background you want, but purples and blues always work well as receding colours against flesh tones, you know. So I mean, this Badger neon purple works really well because it's got a kind of pinky quality to it as well. It's a pinky purple, which means it's not too dark. Now there, the little finger, there's a joint there, so I made the side of the joint that's in shadow, made it purple also, and that sort of helps it to recede. And again, you can put a bit of this pink into the shadow area. Okay, now when you come to the face, reapply the stencil, and then again, like we did with the brown, come into the corners, do that triangle, and then under the bottom lip. And again, when you fill in the nose shadow, just do this, don't go right to the edge, do that kind of shape, okay? And it gives it more reality, you know. Okay, now, what we'll do under the lip, again, try and fade it out a bit. That all adds to the effect. Okay, let's switch to black. The black I'm using is, again, Spectratex, and it's 55-146 opaque jet black, okay? And I'll put it in my usual bottle because I'm kind of familiar with these. Okay, so what you do, again, you can bring the stencil back in, but don't get too hard edges now with the stencil. Just use it as a guide. So when I'm working in these large areas, just gently use it as a guide, because what you want to do, you want to come back in now and do it by eye really. So I start off, and then where I've got a hard edge, I want to soften it. So the rule is basically everything where there's a hard edge, you get in the brown, go over it again in the black until it starts to get softer. And your shadow areas can be jet black now. Now, again, the eyes are very important. As a general rule, don't go quite to the edge with the black. Just stay a bit away from the edge. And that'll have the effect of appearing to fade out, which is exactly what you want. Again, and keep referring to your image, because the gap on the left hand side is slightly greater than the right hand side, but here that's where the depth of shadow area is, because that's a deep socket, so that's the darkest point. Let's start from the darkest point. And on this side, the socket sort of connects with the shadow there, so you can kind of join that up. Fade to black, and again under the lip, gently soften that. These two shadows, that one on the other side. If you remember at the beginning of the video, that had a hard shape around it, but that's gone now. You don't want a very defined edge. Okay. You can airbrush them on if you want, and I recommend Spectratex 55141 tint white. But I'm going to use a brush because, quite frankly, whoops, don't drop your stuff on the floor. Quite frankly, I kind of enjoy the texture you actually get with a brush. So these will bring it to life. Now on the bottom lip, there's kind of a semicircle of light. You kind of exaggerate it like so. Okay. Soften it, dry brush it on a bit. And on the hair, there's a kind of, again, a sort of semicircle of light. And this really brings, so the top of the head, the crown of the hair, if you will, really makes it stand out. That'll start to come together. Okay. Top lip, there's a bit of reflected light on the top lip. Now, when you get to the eyelids, there's just a bit of light right in the centre. So once you put this in, it will really bring those lids to life, kids. Hey. Okay, now when you look at that from a distance, don't forget we can go over it with purple or black if it gets too bright. So that kind of starts to bring it out. And there, where it's got like a bit of, not a cleft, but there's where the jawbone juts out slightly. There's a bit of light there, which contrasts with the shadow under the bottom lip. So that. And then while we're at it with the white, there's a couple of highlights here on the rings. I mean, we've got to define those a bit more, but if you put those in as points of light, as Vermeer would do, you know, think of it as points of light, and that helps your eye. I mean, even though there's not really a lot painted there, your eye and your brain will recognise that as something reflective in the jewellery, and that's basically where we're going with this now. It's just we start to put the highlights in and more details that help define everything. I mean, these bits of white I'm putting on now, I'm going to go over them with the purple and damp it down so it's not such a chalky white, and that is part of the magic of the effect. Yeah, just because you're airbrushing, you don't have to dive in and do every single stage of the airbrush. You can go back to a paintbrush, you know, and really start to, you know, do some subtleties. Okay. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, I do recommend this book because, you know, let's be fair. If we're gonna as airbrush artists use somebody else's image, I think it's only fair you buy the book. So I highly recommend it. But there is a weird problem with this book. I don't know what the graphic designer was thinking, but you get to page 66, 67, and this giant blow up of the picture you're after is stuck between this fly page. So, and I put a bulldog clip, but it's a great photograph. But why they put this picture in the middle is totally beyond me. I don't know. You know, the graphic designer must have had his head up his arse. But but seriously, it's a great book, and I highly recommend it. It's, okay, so just while in the middle of this video, the paint I'm using, they're all Spectratex, and as I said before, tint white 55141, opaque black 55146, neon purple 55169, and Adobe 55137. And you know, obviously there are other airbrush paints available. Bismillah, no, I will not use that paint. of course, I'm just being silly. There's plenty of other paints available, but try these because they're really good value, and I like them. You know, they're great. Okay. I forgot to mention you need a little bit of red for the lips. I'm using Badger Classic Red 55106. And also, I sort of mention while I'm at it, Badger do a little paint mixer, which is like quite a useful little gadget. All it is a little rotary motor with a mixing stick on the end, battery operated. So when you open a new colour, if it gets a bit sludgy, whoops, at the bottom, you can merely insert your Badger mixer like so, and then mix all the sludgy stuff. As you can see, it's got a little barbed sort of end, and that just gets all the paint at the bottom activated again. Alright, just a nice little gadget from Badger. Only need a tiny amount of red just there and there, and also there's like a thick line at the top of his lip at the edges, so gently so less is more, because we're going to dampen that down a bit. So the less you do, the better. Okay, yeah. So when you've added some black, added some more Adobe, come back in with a purpley pink and start to fade it out into the dark, and listen to that texture, like so. And then sign your name, of course. And then obviously sign your name, don't sign mine. And like where I've done the highlights again, you can just a little bit of purple over, just to make them less chalky, and fade it out to purple, like so. And you can see all of these little effects, when used together, create a lovely depth, you know, a bit of purple on there. So the nose there. And there's a shadow above his top lip. I don't know if you can see that. So again, drop that in. And this is quite a complex shirt, but if you watch this video and look at the blog, you'll see if you break it down, it's lots and lots of easy stages, which when used together will give you this effect, you know. So you've got to practice and just work at it, basically, you know, like anything in life. Okay, that's more or less it. And if we do a quick comparison with this shirt and the one that I prepared earlier, you can see you can do with or without lettering, and improvise a bit, because you know you can make the background whatever colour or texture you want. And obviously all the details are down below with the stencil, links to Badger paints, etc. It's all in the blog. Also, you can click on, and if you want to buy this shirt, go on to ebay.co.uk, Nick Smith World, and I will dispatch it to you, as in a dispatch War Rocket Ajax to bring back his body type manner, or perhaps not. I'll just put it in an envelope and send it to you, which is a lot easier, less ridiculous. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been fun, and have a go yourself. The stencil's there, you know. How creative you are is entirely up to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Probably be Brian May. Bye bye.